Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. That's the beauty of podcasting. Welcome into Touchdown in Paradise here on the Fins Talk Sports Network, the network's only college football show, and the number one place for all things college football here in the South Bay, California, and in Southwest Florida. I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
I'm Joe.
I'm Russ.
And we're very excited to be here, but we're not excited to share this first bit of news here because it is a little sad here. We got notification that Dartmouth head coach Buddy Stevens has passed away. He had injuries from a bad bicycle accident this past spring, won over 150 games as a D1 head coach between his stops at Maine, Tulane, Stanford, and then 22 years at his alma mater of Dartmouth. Hey guys, we saw this last season with Mike Leach and a couple players from Virginia and UCF. And it's just always hard to see people who've given so much to the game just go in this horrible way.
Yeah, it's definitely sad, Justin. I mean, you don't find a lot of college coaches that stay anywhere for 22 years. I mean, Jesus. I mean, he ends up as obviously the school's winning as coach. I'm sure for those fans and everyone at the school, it's a very sad day. And we all know how the school rallied behind the team after Mike Leach passed away. So definitely sad. But a great history there. And I don't know too much about Dartmouth football. I've always known them as like one of the best actual schools in the country. But very sad, obviously. And hopefully the team can kind of rally and finish the season strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, want to just keep our prayers for his family. I'm sure they're devastated by this news, and as you said, Justin, by a freak bike accident. Bicycle, not even a motorcycle, a bicycle. But then just you have to think all the positives that man did. As you said, Maine, Tulane, Stanford, and then ultimately at Dartmouth. Obviously he had to have impacted some lives, impacted some people on the way. In his coaching career and just overall life. And I think that's what he will be and should be remembered for.
Yeah, that's well said, Joe. I agree with everything you said. It's a terrible accident, and thoughts and prayers go to the Dartmouth family there and everybody he worked with in college football, especially his family, probably going through a real tough time. So.
Yeah, Russ, you said it best there at the end. We send our love out to everybody at the Dartmouth family. And from our team here at the Finstock Sports Network and Touchdown to Paradise to all of you up in Vermont, we are sending New Hampshire. We're sending all of our love and prayers to all of you. We can take a brief moment of silence to remember. As we say in our culture, in the Jewish culture, may their memory forever be a blessing. I don't know if he was Jewish, whatever his religious was, but we send it all out to him and his family. Moving along here, we did talk about Mel Tucker being fired from Michigan State potentially last week. Now it appears they've begun the firing process. We talked about who could replace him last week, but have our thoughts changed on anything since then? Joe, let's start with you.
Yeah, no, I think again, it's the fact that they just haven't fired him. They're calling it a process, says that they're still doing some due diligence. They're still doing whatever Michigan State needs to. Maybe it's just crossing some T's, dotting some I's. I'm not sure, but it's still just another tragic story for Michigan State and. Unfortunately for who thought of as a great up and coming coach, Mel Tucker. Regarding potential candidates, still too early. I know we were in the group chat throwing out some names. I think it's all speculation at this point still.
Let's go around the circle to Russ.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. Suspending them, I know they want to do their due diligence, but the problems the university's had with this in the past, even if it, I know it's, you're innocent till proven guilty, but I don't think Michigan State can afford to have that, on their hands with everything that went on at the university. So, I don't have the context, so I don't really know what's going on, in the program but it's just something that, has to be done.
Pete, you next.
Yeah, I've been doing a little research on it, and by that, simply just Googling it. I guess they've known about this since like December, right? And then, so they've known that this allegation came about, we're almost to the end of this year. 9 months ago? And then they're investigating it, or maybe they were investigating it for the past 9 months. I don't really know. But I feel like they should have, had they actually had some conviction here, they should have got rid of him before the season, like if they've known for 9 months, or just gotten rid of him after, because it looks like the stuff was leaked to the press, or somehow the press found out about the investigation. And that was in March. Then they should have got rid of him then. And now it's like you suspend him for a week or two, and then you fire him. It's just like, why even suspend him? Just fire him. It's just, this whole thing to me just seems like they've just been delaying it and delaying it and delaying it, and not actually making a decision until they're kind of forced to by the public. So I don't think they're handling it well. He probably has a case to sue them somehow. I don't really know what's all about it, but regardless, it's just going to hang over them for the rest of the season. And I don't know. In my life, I've always been a fan of, once you recognize a problem, you got to do something to either end it or change it. The longer you let it linger, the worse it gets. And I feel like that's exactly what's happened here.
It's almost reminiscent of when Urban Meyer at Ohio State had the Zach Smith whole thing, where the press did expose, yes, he knew about the assault charges, and they did nothing. And that's pretty shocking to me. I didn't know that about the developments, that this happened a while ago and they knew about it in December and were covering it up. Yes, obviously we saw what kind of distraction it put on the football team this past week when they played Washington. The team was down 35-0 at halftime at home. At home. They just talk about being so lifeless and lethargic. So we'll see what happens there. We don't know, like we said, like Joe said, who is going to replace him. It is way too early. So let's move on to another topic here of interest. So how many of you guys here watched the Alabama game in any sort of capacity last weekend?
I was tuned in.
I was too, and not just because I don't like USF in any regard. I also don't like Alabama in any regard. But oh my God, I did not expect a 17-3 slugfest of who's trying to lose the game more. Pete, your thoughts on where is Saban at this point in his career?
I was loving it, dude. And I think Joe would even attest to this. I expected this. I thought right away when they switched quarterbacks to Buckner, you got Tommy Rees calling plays. He hasn't looked good all season. I knew it was a recipe for either an upset loss or just a really crappy win. And that's exactly what it was. Buckner can't pass. Tommy Rees can't call plays. He also couldn't really play that great a quarterback when he was at Notre Dame. And I think Saban is in his own – he's like in a nightmare. He's like, how do I wake up from this? Well, who made these decisions? Well, he did. He brought them in. It's his own fault. And he's dying from within here. The programs, they can't do anything. They should just go back to their first quarterback. At least he put up some hella good numbers. I don't know what they're doing with Buckner, but I was tuned in. I loved it. And I hope he sticks with them, because I'd love to see this season get derailed if it's already not.
I kind of think, Pete, this is kind of Saban going back to his old ways where, yeah, he's been spoiled the last couple of years where he had Tua, then he had Mac Jones. I mean, yeah, whatever you say about
Jalen Hurts before that.
Yeah, Jalen, but, whatever you say about Mac Jones, ultimate system guy who's going to get it done. And then you have Bryce Young, and he's trying to go back to the ways where I can control the ball, control possession, and my defense is going to dominate. That's really not the where the game's going right now anymore. So, I mean, Buckner looks miserable. Simpson was a little better, but not that much. So, I mean, if you want a chance to win, you're going to have to go with Milroe, because he does give you the best shot to win. Because, I mean, USF has how many wins in the last so many years.
They have one FBS win in the last
I mean,
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back to Milroe, which we all know it's at, but he's the most explosive and give you the best shot to win. I mean, Saban's not going to put up with coming in fourth in the SEC West.
And Joe, where do you feel that Nick Saban is at this point in his career?
Honestly, there's two things that come to my mind. First and foremost, it's the constant turnover of the OC and other coaches under Saban. If you don't have that continuity in your program, you're going to start to have issues like we're seeing in Clemson, as you're seeing in Alabama and other programs throughout the entire college football universe. And then the second thing is, as Russ kind of alluded to, is recruiting. Obviously, you have these big 5-star recruit names coming in. It's making me start to think a little bit, were they overrated? I mean, all three of these Alabama quarterbacks, Buckner was a high guy at Notre Dame. Why am I drawing a blank on the two Alabama quarterbacks? Ty Simpson, and then
Milroe.
Both of them were high. Thank you. Were high prospects, and they don't look that good. So I think it's a combination of not the continuity, maybe a little overrating in the recruiting. They look rough. I mean, I can't recall seeing an Alabama team that just uncreative or just they just are meh. They're just there. And going off of why are they still ranked? It's simply because Nick Saban. Like, that is it. Nick Saban is the head coach, so we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt until proven wrong.
I mean, it kind of goes. It kind of goes. If you look, I mean, Pete might have his opinions on Clemson, but if you look at Clemson when Dabo was dominating, I mean, he had great assistants who stuck around for 8 to 10 years. So you're getting that continuity. Yeah, you had Taj Boyd, Watson, and Lawrence, but you got those guys in your program, in your building every day where, we've been seeing these offensive and defensive coordinators just being shuffled in and out.
Right. Then he had Brent Venables for so many years, Tony Elliott for so many years on the sidelines calling the plays.
That plays big.
Yeah, and I will say I think it is the coordinators thing, because obviously it's kind of like I guess you can look at it. There are a lot of parallels to the NFL. With Bill Belichick, he always has these guys that he brings them in. He's the overlord of everything, but he's got very good assistant coaches. That's how Saban's been. I mean, just one look at his offensive coordinators the past decade. You got Jim McElwain, who's tearing it up at Central Michigan. You got Lane Kiffin, head coach at Ole Miss. Who else you got? Brian Daboll, head coach of the New York Giants. Sarkisian, head coach of Texas, who just beat him. Bill O'Brien, he's up in New England, back to the NFL. Like those are, and there's Nussmeier, but he's had
Lane
legendary.
Kiffin, did you mention?
Yeah, Kiffin. I said Kiffin. He's at Ole Miss, and you look now, and he's got 31-year-old Tommy Rees, and I mean Tommy Rees been at Notre Dame, but before that, he's never been a head coach. He's never had any of that. He's younger than me, and it's like I don't think I could go up against Nick Saban on a daily basis, So I do think that's a big part of it. I think he's probably second guessing bringing Tommy Rees in, and who brought Buckner was Tommy Rees because he had a relationship with them. So yeah, it's not stacking up. If you look at the coaches and where he's at, and one piece that's kind of different, that really is the main piece.
Well, I mean, you said he brought he's familiar with Buckner, and you definitely see this a lot in the NFL where coordinators will bring in familiar backups, but maybe Buckner. I mean, he brings in Buckner, but maybe they just don't have the tools. They don't have those guys.
Well, and to
Joe,
your credit,
one last
Russ,
word on this topic.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say everyone at Notre Dame thought Buckner was overrated. So,
Joe, one last word on this topic before we move on.
The only thing I will say is, Pete, I definitely agree that offense that we saw from Alabama was reminiscent of a Notre Dame offense. There'd be sparks of just greatness and then quarters of just trash. So they have a lot of work to do before the Ole Miss game.
And that Ole Miss game is rapidly approaching this Saturday. We'll all be watching. So let's move on into our recap of last week. Florida upsets Tennessee in the Swamp 29-16. Graham Mertz, who I've not been high on for his whole career, didn't play too terribly, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, whereas Joe Milton threw 287 for 2 touchdowns and just what the interception. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Honestly, I think, Justin, you were the one that called this game as a rivalry game, and great call on you. I have to say that.
Yeah, good job, Justin.
Yeah, I thought Tennessee was going to run all over them. But in all fairness, Florida showed up, which they didn't do against Utah. Now, maybe it's because it was in Utah. It wasn't in the Swamp. But also, can I just say, Joe Milton is not impressive at all in that game. He did not impress me one bit. And if Tennessee is riding on Milton to get them to the SEC championship or even further beyond that, he's going to have to play a lot better to even get close to that. So we'll see.
I mean, the word on Milton's always been, me living in Nashville, there's a lot of Vols fans everywhere you go, is the guy's got a cannon, but he can't make those touch passes. Yeah, he can throw the ball 80 yards with barely using his legs, but he can't make he overthrows his receivers. And, this is a Graham Mertz we didn't see the Graham Mertz at Wisconsin. It's a different guy. And just to go, the Swamp is a different animal. That place is rocking. So
yeah,
that place is rocking. That's a big home field advantage.
Yeah, dude, I'll be the first to admit, Tennessee is for sure out of my top 4. I overrated them. I don't know if they are overrated, but I definitely overrated them. Just looking at the stats to this game, Tennessee, more passing yards by like 100 and some yards, but they got killed rushing, not killed, but almost doubled up on rushing yards. And just time of possession, Florida had the ball for basically an entire another quarter. Like, you're not going to win too many games if you don't have possession for an entire quarter, less than the other team. Like, that's just not going to happen. So, for one, I overrated them. The Swamp, dang, dude, if that's a place to go catch a game, we got to take a trip out there.
Oh, yeah.
That looked electric. Yeah, and that whole Tennessee's only won there like twice in like 2 decades. I was like, that's the old Tennessee. That's not this Tennessee. Well, I was damn wrong.
When they go fourth quarter, turn the lights off, and everybody starts singing Tom Petty, I'm like, oh my God, I got to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
The last thing I'm going to say is Joe Milton reminds me of just a Jalen Milroe. Just wearing a Tennessee Vols jersey. So he can throw maybe 70 yards, but he can't throw those intermittent passes to save his life. So, again, a lot of work to be done.
To me, he's like, I don't know if you guys remember Bryce Perkins, who was at UVA a couple years ago, who was a big, tall, strong guy, but he just didn't have that touch on the passes. He reminds me of a stronger version of him. And he did spend some time out here as the Rams backup, by the way, Bryce Perkins.
Yeah, I could see that, Justin. That's a good comparison. But yeah, just one final point on it. It's just, I didn't realize the time of possession. Florida only had it for 22 and a half minutes. Florida had it for 37 and a half minutes. Tennessee only 22 and a half. Like, that's huge disparity. Like,
that's great game planning on Florida's coaching staff.
Literally.
They knew a great way to shut down Tennessee, hold on to the ball.
Yes, indeed. And we have to give our kudos this week to Billy Napier and staff down there in Florida. Great job. Now we're going to move on here. Just a quick word on this game from each of us. Florida State survives a scare on Red Bandana Day at Boston College, 31-29. Jordan Travis, 212, 2 touchdowns. Thomas Castellanos, former UCF quarterback, 305 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. 95 yards on the ground, and another touchdown rushing. So, guys, with Duke, UNC, Syracuse, and Miami all undefeated, is Florida State still the favorite in the ACC? Russ, let's start with you.
I mean, I think they are. I mean, that's an emotional game for Boston College. You know, it's Red Bandana Day. I can't remember the guy's name slipping my mind, but that's an emotional day for them. So I'm not really surprised they put up a fight. I think they are. I want you to mean they got a tough matchup this week, even though maybe Clemson's down. It's still in Death Valley. You know, it's so. You know, we'll see how they handle that. Death Valley's a tough place to win.
Yes, and his name was Wells Crawford. I apologize if I'm butchering that name, but Wells Crawford, who lost his life on 9/11. Joe, quick word from you on this game.
Yeah, I agree with Russ. For whatever reason, Boston College always plays their best game on this game. That red ribbon is their motivation, it seems like every year. And regarding the question, yeah, FSU is by far still the favorite in the ACC. Maybe a surprise upset this week, but we'll see. We'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm. Pete, one last word here.
Yeah, I you know, it's always a tough game, especially traveling up to Boston College. It's not an easy one. I will say I think Florida State is still the favorite. This could have very easily been a slip-up game. And to be fair to Boston College, the stats kind of are all in their favor. I mean, they had more yards, more plays, more yards per play.
More penalties.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they should have won this game. Yeah, they should have won this game, but Florida State figured out a way to do it on the road in a very emotional environment. So, you know, I'm not going to say it's going to really affect how I look at them. It's just a damn tough game. So good for them for winning it, and good for Boston College for balling out.
Yes, with this game, BC falls to 4-6 with Red Bandana Day happening. We hope that record improves for their sake, for Wells' the sacrifice and everybody else. So we're going to now comment on, this will be fun. The Sanders brothers deliver. Colorado defeats Colorado State in 2 overtimes, 43-35. Shador, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Braden Fowler Nicolosi, the other quarterback.
Did he freeze?
Yeah.
Russ, you just want to jump in on this one?
Yeah.
What do you think of the game, bro?
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, it went for 3.
Yeah, we got you now, Justin.
Yeah, we got you. It's all. Yeah, we'll just.
So we had Braden Fowler Nicolosi, 367.
Yeah, he went for 367, 3 touchdowns.
3 interceptions, though.
Yeah. 1 second, Justin. I'm going to step away real quick.
I'll jump in here. I mean, I remember this was the game. Oh, he's wearing the glasses. Okay. I was about to say, this game was.
Yeah.
This game was the game of the weekend again. And again, it's with Colorado. Talk about just an electric atmosphere. They bring in The Rock, all of the celebrities that were at that game. There is something seriously brewing in Boulder. Love that game. I would rewatch that game again today if it was that entertaining.
Yeah, amen.
Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. A lot of smack talking before. I mean, it was pretty late here on the East Coast. I mean, 10 o'clock start time, so I had to rewatch it. Basically, rewatch some on replay, but obviously, I picked up the highlights and rewatched it. I mean, that's a rivalry game. I mean, and they kind of just fought back, but I think this kind of shows the way the college football is going. I mean, you're seeing these transfers come in. I mean, obviously Shador, but he's got Xavier Weaver, who's dominating, his number 1 receiver, 386 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then he's got Jimmy Horn Jr., who's 247 for 2, both USF guys here in Tampa. And then, I mean, you got a leftover there. One leftover was it Michael Harrison went for 2 touchdowns. He's one of the few leftovers on the Colorado program. I do want to throw out Did anybody see that? It was Shiloh and Shador and Dion, and they're just talking about they're at an NFL game, and he goes, somebody said Shador's going to the NFL, and he goes, hell no, he ain't going to the NFL. He's got to play here one more year.
I'm even. They're going to hold on to Shador as long as they can. I mean, ride him until the cows come home, because man, he is electric as a quarterback. What he can do with his arm, with his legs, it's phenomenal.
And hey, Dion, if you want to sponsor us, throw a couple of those sunglasses our way. We won't say no.
I saw a stat that they sold over like $4 million on those sunglasses, something ridiculous like that. Whew. Talk about NIL as well in college football.
That's right. Pete, I'm going to ask you this. Travis Hunter left the game early after a late hit from a gentleman from Colorado State. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Should that guy have been tossed, and did CSU intentionally play dirty?
I mean, yes. The bottom line, we all watched it. I literally, right away, I was like, get that guy out of the damn game. I mean, he clearly saw the ball hit the ground and still trucked him when he wasn't even looking. I mean, it should have been targeting. He should have been tossed. Yeah, CSU was playing dirty. And to be honest with you, all this hype around Colorado, all this stuff talking about, this coach and Dion responded to their coach and all this stuff, you knew it was going to happen. You can only kind of show off so much in the media leading up to a game until a team finally gets like, dude, screw these guys. If we got to hurt them, we got to hurt them. And that's kind of what they were doing, especially that linebacker there. So, for one, should have got his ass out of the game. It was a ridiculous hit. It was great for Shador and all those guys to run up to him after it happened and basically be like, bro, we're coming at you. And what happened? That final touchdown got shook and juked out of his shorts, and the guy got into the end zone. So, to be honest, it all comes back to bite. The final thing I'm going to say on this is, yeah, sunglasses are great. You knew Dion was taking this serious because the game starts and he's got his shades on. He's looking at the playbook, and I'm like, dude, how do you even see this? I can barely see my computer screen right now. But when the game started getting tight, these came right off, and he didn't have the shades on anymore. So I think even Dion thought, hey, we're going to go out there and roll these guys, and that's not what happened. And, of course, it's a rivalry. That's not – I didn't really expect that to happen, but definitely did not expect the game to end the way it did. Electric. I'd watch those guys play every week.
Well, Dion's probably in the first half. He's like, 80-yard touchdown pass to Weaver. All right, that's all, I don't need the playbook.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Hey, and one thing about Shador is, I mean, he was making some amazing plays. His team was kind of letting him down with the turnovers and stuff. So, he should have had a better stat line probably, although it was still amazing.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the announcers on Fox, I believe, said that it looked like the BET Awards there with all the amounts of celebrities and Lil Wayne introducing the team, walking out of the tunnel. It's just amazing seeing, I know I say this every single week, but the power one man has to change an entire sport, the way we look at a sport, at a place where nobody ever really thought about college football since the early 90s.
I will say one last thing. It's still phenomenal that today, or maybe it was yesterday, on their podcast, Tom Brady is talking to Dion and Shador and talking about how he just bought himself a new Rolls Royce. And the first thing that Tom Brady said is he needs to get his ass in the film room. So, I mean, again, it's being done the right way. And that's the thing. It's not just all flash. They're putting in the work, and that's how you win. That's how you do a program.
Just like Shador said, I got to go Brady mode, bro. That's what he said at the end of the game. What do you want to do at the end of the game? I just got to go Brady mode. I think everyone's going to start saying that now. You got a deadline? Yeah, dude, time to go into Brady mode right now. I'm going to start using it.
Wow. I can't wait to watch Colorado the rest of the season. But right now, it's time for the Russ Report before we get into our picks. Russ.
All right, so we got Joe and Justin at 23, Pete at 22.5, and I'm failing pretty big, 15.5. So I'm going to throw this out. I told Joe and Justin this. I think the Alabama line is kind of BS. So if you want to call the Alabama game as an upset, I'm doing it on spite and jumping on it, and you can lose with me because I can't win a game, period. So that's on you. So if you want to lose, jump on with me.
Imagine if I didn't miss a week. I'd be dominating you guys.
Yeah.
Pete, when you hit me up after a week of Vegas, and you're like, "Yeah, I lost about $5,000." So
He was doing the real PD parlay.
Yeah.
That is true. If only my actual picks were as good as my imaginary
It's
picks.
easier not to play. You're playing with other people's money, not your own, right?
That's why you got to hit the roulette table first and then play on casino money.
And speaking of the PD parlay, let's get started here with a Midwestern matchup. We're going to start with Pete here. Wisconsin at Purdue. Wisconsin's a 6-point favorite, 54 over under. UW minus 238, Purdue plus 195. Let's hear it, Pete.
I think Wisconsin is going to roll in there, and I think they're going to beat them by 2 touchdowns. I don't think that – obviously it's a Big Ten game, and this rivalry – I don't know if it's necessarily a rivalry, but it's definitely a game that Wisconsin and the state of Indiana take very seriously. So Wisconsin's going to go, and they're going to march into Purdue, a school that has about 90% dudes, and they're going to dominate them. So I think Wisconsin's going to win by 2 touchdowns, so to cover the 6. I think we're going to have an over. I think it's going to be like – 35 to 20. Actually, I'm going to get. I'll still go over. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to go the over. So Wisconsin to cover and the over. I'm staying away from the money line on this one, just in case I'm wrong.
Joe,
I'm kind of on the same page, except for one thing. I'm taking Wisconsin on the spread. I think they will win by at least 10, but I'm taking the under. I think Big Ten football. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be a grind. I still think Wisconsin's trying to figure stuff out. Purdue, they're not very good this year. But I'm going to take Wisconsin money line as well.
Long gone are the days of Drew Brees at Purdue, and for that reason, I'll take Wisconsin with the spread. I'm going to go the under here because it's a Big Ten matchup. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of scoring. Both teams are semi-rebuilding at this point, new coaches on both sidelines. And then I will go Wisconsin money line here. Russ.
Well, I'm a little angry at myself last week because I made a big speech about myself making a comeback about that UFC UGA game. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, oh, nice! I got all the points on this, and then I go back and see myself call UGA. But I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna take the 6 for Purdue. I'm gonna take Wisconsin money line, and I'm gonna go with the under. I need to do a little catching up, so I'm going to do that. Let's go.
Okay, counter it. Next, UCF at Kansas State. UCF's Big 12 matchup debut in Manhattan. Kansas State is a minus 6.5 favorite. Over under here is 54.5. KSU minus 238. UCF plus 190. That can't be right. I may have redone this. Let me see here.
Well, I'm going to pull
it up.
I've
written this twice.
I'm going to pull it up right now. I think it's changed.
Yeah, I got it here. It's 192 KSU, minus 192. And then plus 160 UCF. Technical difficulties here, people. My fault. I'm going to start with Joe this time.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that Kansas State game last week where they lost to Missouri. And, with their starting quarterback in, I thought Kansas State could beat anyone. But with their backup in, they look like their offense can't even move 10 yards, let alone win a football game. So I'm going to take UCF. I'm going to take UCF with the points. I'm going to take the over, though. I definitely think there will be points on the board. And I'm going to take UCF money line.
Okay, Pete.
Yeah, I'm riding with Joe here. I'm not impressed with Kansas State. I called the loss to Missouri, and it was a lot more electric than I thought it was going to be, but still electric loss. And so I'm going to take UCF. We're riding with them. They're going to cover, and then we're going to hit the over here. I mean, I think a week ago it might not still be the case, but didn't UCF have like the number 1 offense in the country?
We still do,
yeah. Okay, so I think we're going to have points. And I'm not doing it because I'm going to leave that one for Justin. But I'm going to take UCF money line as well.
Okay, Russ.
Well, I thought I was going to be different on this, but, I guess not. I'm going UCF to cover, UCF I'm sorry, Justin. I got to go UCF money line. You know, I'm going to do this for you, Justin. I'm going to go Kansas State. So, you know, you're welcome. We can't be all – it doesn't work for all on the board. So I'm going to do that for you, buddy. I'm going to go Kansas State money line and the over.
Thanks, Russ. I appreciate that. And as the UCF fan here, I will say we have had an excellent offense so far, but we're on the road in our Big 12 debut with our backup quarterback, who didn't look too bad, but we were playing Villanova last week. I have confidence in Timmy McClain. I don't know how much confidence I have in Gus Malzahn. He always gives me a heart attack. Well, then again, UCF always gives me a heart attack. But I think if Will Howard is healthy, their starting quarterback at Kansas State, then this will be one where KSU will cover. Let's just assume he's healthy. I'll take the Kansas State spread here. And I'll also go the over here because both teams still can score. But I just think that experience there is just going to put them over the edge of UCF, and I'll take the KSU money line.
Going against your own team, Justin. Wow.
Hey, good things have happened when I do that. I'm just saying.
Bold strategy, dude. Bold strategy. I like
psychology. I see you.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be nice and be like, everybody's going UCF money line. So I was going to be like, you can't have UCF on the board. I'll do one for my buddy. I'll go Kansas State money line. And then he throws a curveball. And we all know who can, it's one of the hardest things to do is hit a curveball.
And it's just hard to do this to your own team. But I'm just being a neutral observer here. I can see our offense hitting a wall against a real Big 12 defense at some point. And Kansas State is the reigning Big 12 champs.
Those are two words you usually never hear. A real Big 12 defense.
Yeah, fair enough. This year might be a little different. But speaking of defense, I don't think we're going to see a lick of it in this next matchup here. And I'm so excited for this one. Oregon State at Washington State. Oregon State opens up as a -3 favorite. Over-under is 56. Oregon State -148. WSU +124. I'm going to start here because are you kidding me with that over-under? I'm taking that over, and I may even double it. This could be easily a 56-53 game, in my opinion. And I'll take Washington State with the upset here on the money line, and I'll go them to cover 2. Let's go with Pete next.
It's at Washington State. I'm going to go with Washington State here. I'm going to take Washington State to cover the over. It's going to get blasted, bro. They're going to score like at least 85 points, and I'm going to take Washington State money line. All 3 Washington State. Let's ride, baby.
Let's ride. Russ.
Oh, I can't go against Oregon State. It's one of my sleeper, my main sleeper team. So they're going to handle this cover, get the W, leave Pullman, and I'm hitting the over.
Okay. Russ is riding with the DJ here. Joe.
Yeah, I'm with Russ too. A former Bosco alum, DJ Uyunglele, Bosco alum. I just think they have the better offense. I really struggled with this one. It's at Washington State, and I think Washington State's a little underrated. But I think Oregon State is a little bit better. So I'm taking Oregon State with the spread. I agree with all of you. The over, I'm betting the farm on the over on this game. And I'm taking Oregon State money line.
Love it, guys. We're keeping this thing rolling here. Now for the matchup that was aforementioned here, Ole Miss at Alabama. Bama is a 7-point favorite on the road, 55 over-under. Bama -278 and Mississippi +255. Joe, let's start with you this time.
This one is so tough. Honestly, I am so conflicted by this game. I'm going with Ole Miss in the points. But I'm going Alabama money line. It's in Tuscaloosa. I don't see Nick Saban allowing another loss in Tuscaloosa, especially to another one of his former assistants. And I'm staying away from the over/under. I don't know what this game could be a shootout. It could be the defense of Alabama shuts down Ole Miss. So then it could be a 14-3 game. I have no idea. So, yeah, I'm taking Ole Miss with the points, and I'm taking Alabama money line.
That's a pretty safe conservative bet there. Pete, your thoughts?
I think my boy, Lane the Train Kiffin, senses blood in the water, and he's ready to pounce, dude. It doesn't matter if it's in Alabama, in Europe, in South America. He's ready. He's locked and loaded. He's going in there. He's going to beat the crap out of Saban. And by that, I mean at least by 1 point. So I'm taking Ole Miss to money line, Ole Miss to cover, and I'm taking the over on the lane train, baby. Let's get it. You can't let his boy Sark, as Joe mentioned, be the only former assistant to beat him this year. You just can't do it. Just can't do it. Also, if it's Lane's mind versus Tommy Reese, I'm taking Lane's offensive mind for sure.
Russ, are you staying in that lane?
Yeah, so I just want to throw this as my upset of the week. No. So yeah, I mean, I'm going Ole Miss to cover at 6.5 now. I'm going Ole Miss money line, and you know what? I've seen that offense. I'm going the under.
Okay, hedging your bet here. Okay, looking at this game here, this really could go either way. Nick Saban's under a ton of pressure right now to deliver with Jalen Milroe now back at the helm for his team. Meanwhile, I think the gap is closing here in the SEC, and Ole Miss is right there running. Lane Kiffin, he loves his track star receivers and running backs. Jackson Dart can throw. Let's see him have a breakout game, and I'll take the Ole Miss money line here. And like Joe, I'm going to stay away from the over-under because I'm not quite sure, but I'll take Ole Miss to cover as well. And looking ahead here, this used to be a great rivalry game. Now, it was dominated by Clemson for a long time, but they're not looking too hot this year. Florida State is. Florida State at Clemson. FSU opens -2, 56.5 over-under. FSU is -130, whereas Clemson is +110, a home dog, which has not happened in God knows how long. Russ, we're going to start with you this time.
So, I really wanted to – just to throw it out, we're going live lines up to today, obviously. So it's 2.5 right now.
Okay.
So we're gonna go with live betting lines, obviously, until we do our podcast. So it's 2.5. I really would want Clemson. I think it's net value, but I can't do it. So I'm taking FSU to cover, FSU money line, and the over under. I can't remember off the top. I'm gonna go over.
The over under is 56.5.
So I'm gonna go over, and if I was playing with, I'd probably do a PD parlay and see if I could get it up a point. And then I would call the Clemson cover, but 2.5. I think they'll get that.
Joe, let's hear from you.
Yeah, this was another tough one. I think this is going to come down to the home team here. I think if it was at Florida State, I think it would have been Florida State. But this is basically just going off of the gut here. I'm going to take Clemson with the points, 2.5 plus 2.5. I'm going to take the under though. I think this is going to be old school slugfest. I think it's going to just be which O-line, which D-line gives out first. And I'm going to take Clemson money line.
Okay. Pete, Mr. Anti-Dabo.
I am so anti-Dabo, dude. I can't bring myself to say they're going to win. I just can't do it. But Florida State, coming off a really rough road game up in BC, and now an extremely tough game at Clemson, where Clemson's like, they got to win every game the rest of the season. They can't afford a loss, not even a close one. Dang, bro. I'm going to go with Clemson. But I do think it's going to be a shootout, kind of. I mean, the over-under that Florida State had with Boston College, and Boston College is usually a team that can't necessarily put up a lot of points, and they put up, 29 points or whatever against them. And that game had over 60 points. So I'm going to take Clemson to cover. I'm going to take the over at 56.5. And I'm also going to take Clemson money line. I hate it, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm fading myself. Or maybe I'll fade myself later, then refade myself. I'll just get faded. But who knows? So I'm taking Clemson all the way and the over.
Oh,
And
And
I
I'm
hate
gonna
it.
go. I'm gonna go in an opposite direction here. Florida State smells blood in the water. They saw what Clemson did against Duke in Week 1, and they came off that big win against LSU the night before and said, "Hey, we actually have a chance to win this game this year." Finally, after the first time in half a decade. When's the last time they won? Either way, Florida State. I'm gonna take them with the field goal, so I'll give them maybe a half point up, -3. And I will say this will go, I think it'll be just under, just because it's going to be a defensive battle more than anything. Tatum Bethune, former UCF guy on the D line side on FSU, he's going to make sure that Will Shipley's not going to run all over him. Neither is Cade Klubnik. This is a home game, so it is really tough to predict that. But I'll go ahead and take Florida State on the money line here because they feel like this is our chance. This is our chance to get that signature ACC win to put us back in the driver's seat, especially after getting embarrassed last week at Boston College. Colorado at Oregon. I can't wait for this one either. Oregon's a -21 favorite here, 71.5 over under, rightfully so. Oregon -1350 money line, and Colorado +800. I'm going to start here because I'm going to say that this is my cover of the week, not upset. I don't think there's any way Oregon's going to win by 21. I'm going to say it's going to be by 10 or 13 because Deion is not going to let his team go on the road and get blown out. As he says, those guys are leaders and dogs. They don't go in there and just say, we're going to be beaten up. No, they went to TCU. They won that game. I think Oregon is going to be a little too much, so I'll take Oregon with the money line. I'm definitely taking that over, but I'm going to take Colorado to cover the spread here. Pete.
Oh man, I gotta get a better look at the screen right now. Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Here
Wow,
we
now
go
that I
again.
can actually see at 7:20 at night with my shades on, I can see it's coming all up Colorado, baby. This boils down to me to who the better quarterback is. And I could be wrong, but I think Shadur is better than Bo Nix. So I think Colorado is going to cover. Colorado is going to win money line, and this game's going over for sure. Doesn't matter that it's on the road. I don't care. Everything's coming up a little shady for Shadur. Let's get it done, baby. Colorado, massive underdog, massive win for this program. Let's go. Because to be honest, they got to beat Oregon to be able to beat, if they want to make it to the top 4 and beat any of these other big schools. This really starts here. So let's see it.
Is that your upset of the week?
It is my upset of the week, baby. Book it. And you might want to tell me because I don't lose, brother. Come on.
Russ, your response.
Well, yeah, I'm taking the 21. I think Colorado's going to cover. I was leaning that way with Pete for a while until I saw Travis Hunter go down. That defense is not looking up to snuff, so I'm taking the money line for Oregon. I think, Colorado's here. That, like Deion said, we're here, but not yet. And then I'm hitting the over hard. Their defense is going to might as well just let Bo Nix and Shadur throw with no defense.
Love it. And Joe.
I agree with Pete and Russ here. You guys stole my script apparently. I think the fact that they're 21-point underdogs is absolutely absurd. I'm taking Colorado with the points for sure. Taking the over, leave the defenses at home, just put the offenses out there and just throw it out. But I agree. I think Travis Hunter being out, he's your captain of that defense, or the L, or whatever his title is. I know they don't use the C for captain. So I think Oregon pulls it out, but it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be who has the ball last. And as much as I love Shadur and I have faith in Colorado, I still think they'll potentially make it to the Pac-12 championship. I think Oregon catches them because they don't have Hunter.
Last note on this game here. Before the season started, Colorado moved to the Big 12, announcing it for next year. And Dan Lanning was asked in his press conference, what does that mean? And he said, I'm sorry, what have they ever done in this conference? What have they won to note anything? And so he was the first coach to say something. It had nothing to do with Deion, but Colorado as a program. So just keep that in the back of your mind when watching this game. I'm sure they're going to replay that several times. And lastly here, our game of the week.
He's not wrong, Justin. What have they done in the Pac-12?
He's not wrong at all. Of course, I'm saying it was about Colorado, not Dion. What if they won? But of course, the media is going to pull this out. The fans are going to pull this out, and they're going to remember that quote if Colorado wins or if Colorado loses.
And so are the players, baby. Let's go.
Speaking of some players, I know we got a couple players in on this game here. Game of the week, Ohio State at Notre Dame, the one we've all been waiting for. Ohio State opens as a road 3.5 favorite, 54.5 over-under. Money line here, OSU minus 170, Notre Dame plus 142. We're going to let the Notre Dame guys here go last because I know they're going to have a lot to say. Russ, go first.
All right, so I know where they're going, but I can't do it. I'm not high on Ohio State. I'm not high on the quarterback. So I'm taking the Notre Dame points, taking the Notre Dame money line, and I'm taking the over. Touchdown Jesus, baby. Touchdown Jesus.
Touchdown Jesus indeed. I'm on that train too. I've called Sam Hartman as the Heisman earlier this season. It's going right back and forth between him and Caleb Williams, but that all starts with a signature win here. Joel Klatt was saying this could be the biggest Notre Dame win if they win this game in 30 years, to the point where they could actually win the national title. And with a quarterback like Sam Hartman, I believe they can. And a coach defensive-minded like Marcus Freeman, I believe it. So I'll take Notre Dame to cover. I'm going to go the under here. It's going to be a defensive game more so. I think a lot of the points will be scored on the Notre Dame side, and I'll take Notre Dame money line. Okay, Joe.
3 points now, boys. 3 points now.
Man. I circled this game the Sunday after we played Ohio State last year at Ohio State. If we had a better quarterback last year, I thought we could have beaten them in Columbus. Couple of plays just needed to go our way. I think this game is going to be a great game. I honestly do. Ohio State comes in. Notre Dame is on the rise. Just got a 5-star quarterback for the class of 2025. Just got a high 4-star offensive tackle commit. So Marcus Freeman is building, something that I have not seen in my lifetime. And this will be a win that I have not seen in my lifetime. I think Notre Dame's played Ohio State 4 or 5 times since I've been alive, and Ohio State has smacked us all 4 or 5 times. But not this year. Not this time. Sam Hartman is going to carry us. I'm taking Notre Dame 3.5. I'm taking the over. I think it's going to go back and forth for a while. I think when you have a wide receiver like Ohio State has, they're going to put up points. It's just going to come down to Notre Dame is just going to control the clock, run the ball through Estime, and throw dimes when they need to. And I'm taking Notre Dame money line, obviously.
Pete, you're not a Notre Dame homer, are you? No,
definitely not. No, I'm just I'm just a fan of good, clean college athletics. At the highest standard. Kids who go to class, they perform at the highest standard in the classroom. That's what I'm all about, baby. And that's not Ohio State, and that's why we're gonna kick the shit out of them. Notre Dame's coming for them. Oh wait, hold on. Something's in my ear. I hear something here. What's that noise? Oh, little bagpipe action? Are we getting the boys going? I've been buzzing all off season. I don't know if you can hear me. I can barely hear myself. Sam Hartman, football legend, coming from the ACC Southeast to independent Notre Dame, going to dominate. He's literally going to throw for 6 touchdowns. Our defense is going to dominate them. They are coming into our house, and they're not getting out of there with the dub. They got lucky when we played them last year with the quarterback who can't throw, and we still almost beat them. So this year, it's all for us. The boys are going to be hyped. The fans are going to be hyped. College game day is going to be electric. I don't know who the guest picker is. I haven't got the call yet. I'm ready to hop on the PJ right now. We'll see what happens, but we're taking it to them. Bagpipes, beer, everything Irish. Get ready. You got to start early on Saturday, and we got to finish late, and that's what's going to happen. Go Irish!
I always love hearing Pete talk about Notre Dame because you just feel the passion in his speeches. Thank you guys all for that. We're running short on time here, so we're going to fly through our predictions here, starting with our sleeper team. I still have Notre Dame. Everybody's going to wake up about Notre Dame when they win this week, but I'm sticking with them. Joe.
Sticking with Duke.
Russ.
Sticking with Oregon State.
And Pete.
Notre Dame, baby. Let's go.
And going on to Coach of the Year, I'm still on the Dion train. Neon Dion going up to Duckland this weekend. Let's see if he comes out on top, but I still have him coming out on top here. Joe.
I'm all on the Marcus Freeman train. If we get that dub tonight, Saturday, he's Coach of the Year.
Russ.
I'm still on Kalen DeBoer.
So no change so far for any of us, Pete.
I'm sticking with Marcus Freeman. He's doing something Saban can't. He's winning with Tommy Rees. So without, he was able to win with Tommy Rees. Saban can't. So I think just because of that, Marcus Freeman, Coach of the Year, and we're going to get this dub. It's not if, Joe, it's when.
And next to our Heisman picks, it's just going to come down to maybe the last week of the season, and I think it's going to come from the Pac-12, whoever the Heisman is. Michael Penix Jr. looking like the front runner this week in my eyes. I know I've been going back and forth here. If it's not Sam Hartman in the independent Notre Dame, if it's not Caleb Williams down in Southern California, if it's not Bo Nix up in Oregon, I think it's going to be the guy just a bit further north, Michael Penix, who's just looked unstoppable, him in Washington. They would be my number one team right now if I had the choice. Joe.
This is my change. Because Travis Hunter is going to miss at least 2 to 3 weeks, I think losing that time does hurt him. So I'm going to his QB, Shedeur.
And Russ.
Thank you for jumping on my picks this week one. It's Michael Penix. It's the lefty up there in Seattle. That's all you got to say. He's bringing Washington back, bringing them back, making the college football playoffs, and in the Pac-12 on a good note. Let's go.
And Pete.
I'm sticking with Caleb Williams, but I think this week, and I know this week is when where I have Sam Hartman possibly, this is where he jumps ahead of Caleb Williams. So I'm taking Caleb Williams for the next few days until next week.
Love it. Okay, and our last prediction segment here, we have our college football playoff teams. Georgia has not looked great in the first half, but second half, watch out. They are probably the scariest team in the country, as we saw this past week. I'm going to leave them in there for now, but for now, key words. Penn State, in my opinion, has looked like the best team in the Big Ten. I know they went to Illinois this week, didn't have a great first half, but they too also bounced back in the second half and show that they can be the team that is my favorite, in my opinion. I know people will say Michigan this, Michigan that, or Ohio State this, or Ohio State that. But I think this could be the year where James Franklin finally breaks that glass ceiling and gets in. The Pac-12, it could be a number of teams. At the moment, I'm going to say USC just because Caleb Williams looks unstoppable, but so does Michael Penix in Washington. I just don't know what to do. I would love to see both of them in if they can make it. And lastly, Notre Dame. At this point, if Notre Dame wins Ohio State's game, they just have USC left. And I think that's all they really have to worry about the rest of the year. And those
Clemson.
are my four. We'll see about that. Joe.
So I agree with you. Georgia, they haven't impressed me, but they're still number one. Until someone dethrones them, they will always be number one. I have Notre Dame, obviously. I think they will beat Ohio State this weekend, and I think we do have some tough games coming up, but I think Ohio State's the big one for now. I still have Ohio State in there, though. I think they take the L against Notre Dame. They go back, watch film, and I think they roll the Big Ten. I think their offense will figure it out. It's just Notre Dame's going to be better. And then this is my one change. I put Texas back in because I have Clemson upsetting Florida State at Clemson. So I just think, again, is Texas back? We'll find out.
We will. Russ.
So, Georgia's winning the SEC. I don't care if they struggle for a little bit. It's an SEC game. Michigan's walking through the Big Ten. They don't got a tough game until they play Ohio State. Washington is winning the Pac-12. Michael Penix winning the Heisman. And a flip-flop in Texas, FSU. They both were kind of similar. FSU did play a Power 5 team. Yes, it was a close game, but Texas was struggling against Wyoming, so I'm throwing FSU in there.
Okay, and Pete, close us out.
Joe.
Yeah, I get.
Joe, sorry, Pete. I do need your
You're good.
upset pick. My bad. Now it's all you, Pete. Sorry to cut you off, brother.
No, you're good, dude. Just don't do it again. All right. So I got Notre Dame, Georgia, Michigan, and I took out Tennessee because they're just not going to get it done in the SEC. So I'm going to put Washington in there. I could see a scenario where Notre Dame beats USC and then USC maybe loses to Washington in the Pac-12 title game. Also, I don't know if USC plays Washington until then. I have no idea. I'm not a schedule guy. I don't really look at them. I only really follow Notre Dame, but I'm throwing Washington in there.
I mean, Pete, all I hear from you is, I mean, yeah, you might say all these other teams, but you just hear Notre Dame, Notre Dame, Notre Dame. That's all you need.
Dude, I just focus on what matters, brother, and that's what matters, my man.
Yeah. November 4th, Washington at USC. There we go.
Thank you, Justin.
I'm going to call my upset. This is for you, Peter.
Ooh, okay.
Auburn over Texas A&M at 7.5.
Okay.
Ooh, thank you. That's going to happen because Texas A&M's dog shit.
In College Station.
And Russ, I don't have an upset of the week. I have a cover of the week. I have Iowa covering against Penn State plus 15.
That's a good one, Joe.
Nice pick. And our wrap up here.
I was going to think about UCLA over Utah too for a little bit.
They're 4.5 though, I saw. So you never know.
And a freshman QB.
True.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. We're going to wrap this up with a stat of the day here. This week we have Sam Houston State University at University of Houston. So Houston is named after Sam Houston himself. So who would Sam Houston himself root for if he were alive today?
Good question.
That's a great one. I'm going to go with the city, Houston, just because, it's Houston, even though I hate the Astros.
Anybody taking the namesake university?
I think he just wants to see nice, competitive, good football game. That's what
just good, clean football.
Good, clean, no late hits.
And our last segment of the day here, our 3 cheers for the week. So my first cheer, even though they were playing dirty all game, this team, I've got to give a shout out to the Colorado State receivers. Torrey Horton, 16 catches, 133 yards, 1 touchdown. Lewis Brown, the fourth, 10 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. And then Dallin Holker, 6 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They were sprinting all over the field. Got to respect it. So cheers to those guys, those young men, just getting after it. Hopefully they'll get the bag. Next up here, we have Oregon State and Washington State. The 2-pack left. They mean business. Oregon State scored 123 points so far this season and 33 allowed. Washington State, 145 points scored, 67 allowed. And that's why I can't wait for this matchup this week. The last 2 Pac-12 teams going head-to-head, they're like, might as well duke it out for the ages. See what everyone else is missing. And then lastly, the MVP of the week. Harrison Melvich, the kicker from Missouri, 61-yard walk-off against Kansas State. 3 cheers to you, young man.
Yeah, that was electric.
Hell of a kick.
Mm-hmm. And that's all for us. Thank you for tuning in to Touchdown to Paradise here on the Fins Talk Sports Network. I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
I'm Joe.
I'm Russ.
And we'll see you next week. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow.